Don't click this reading if you're too sensitive, but if you already have, then maybe, just maybe, your soul is finally ready. There's a part of you, Scorpio, that you've spent years hiding from the world, and not just the world, from friends, from lovers, sometimes even from yourself. It's the part of you that remembers the pain that wasn't spoken, the touch that didn't feel safe, the moment someone confused your passion for a weakness, and the silence you used as a shield ever since. But October doesn't care about the walls you've built, because this month Spirit is not asking for your permission. It's already begun the process of exposing the one truth you've buried deepest. You've never stopped aching for real connection, not surface level, not attraction, not temporary comfort, but something holy, sacred, consuming. And here's what's terrifying. That very thing you crave the most is also the thing you fear will destroy you if you let it in. This reading isn't for the version of you that plays it safe. This is for the part of your soul that's already been shattered and is brave enough to rebuild without the mask. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through what October really has in store for Scorpio. A reunion written in your soul contract. A sexual energy that can either heal or haunt. A secret admirer who watches you in silence. And a final confrontation with the wound that has shaped your entire intimacy story. This isn't just a tarot reading, it's a spiritual autopsy. And if you stay with me, Scorpio, you're going to discover something that even your shadow tried to keep from you. So, are you still here? Then let's begin. Because Spirit has been waiting. Part 1. Eternal Union. The relationship that holds your soul mirror. Most people think a soulmate brings comfort, but you, Scorpio, you know better. For you, the real soulmate is the one who brings truth, not comfort. They don't arrive to flatter you, they arrive to reflect you, to hand you a mirror that shows not only your beauty, but your scars. And this October, that mirror is unavoidable. There's someone in your orbit, either already beside you or stepping into your path, who isn't here to fix you. They're here to reveal you, to awaken the part of you that's been buried under silence, survival, and secrets. It could be a current partner whose presence suddenly feels deeper, more aligned, more intimate, as if they've begun to see past your armor. Or it could be a stranger whose eyes you've never seen yet carry the weight of 1,000 lifetimes. You may want to resist this. You may say, "I'm not ready, I'm too broken." But Scorpio here is your truth. The more broken you are, the deeper you can love. Your cracks are not weaknesses. They are openings where divinity pours through. Let me give you a story. A Scorpio woman named Evelyn lived years in a loveless marriage. She had learned to numb her heart just to survive. One evening in a quiet bookstore, she met a man 10 years younger reading the same poetry book she once cherished in her youth. They spoke for hours. Not about jobs, not about hobbies, but about grief, about the child she lost, about the guilt she never dared to voice, about being touched without ever being truly seen. That night they didn't kiss, but for the first time in years, Evelyn cried. Not out of sorrow, but because someone finally looked straight into her soul and chose her anyway. That Scorpio is eternal union, not fantasy, not perfection, but being emotionally naked and still being loved. This October Spirit is aligning you with this very mirror. If you're with someone, expect a new current of intimacy to rise between you. If you're single, don't mistake solitude for emptiness. Sometimes the silence is only clearing the way for a fated arrival. But beware, this mirror won't flatter you. It will show your wounds, and it will whisper the question you've avoided for lifetimes. Can you still love yourself while looking directly at your scars? Life lesson from part 1. A soulmate is not sent to erase your pain. They are sent to teach you that even with your wounds, you are still worthy of love. Only when you stop hiding from your own reflection can you finally allow someone else to truly see you. Part 2. The Sacred Wound. Why intimacy feels unsafe. Scorpio, let's tell the truth. Most people are afraid to speak. You crave deep, soul-shaking intimacy, but when it finally comes close, you flinch. Not because you're cold, not because you're distant, but because somewhere along your path you learned the most dangerous message a soul can carry. If I let them in, they'll destroy me. You were betrayed at your most vulnerable, perhaps by someone who was supposed to protect you, a parent, a lover, or someone who crossed the line and turned closeness into control. And ever since that moment, a part of you has held intimacy hostage. You let others near, but not too close. You give your body, but guard your soul. You seduce with fire, but tremble when someone reaches for your pain with gentleness. Here's what most don't understand about Scorpio. You don't fear sex, you fear being seen while being touched. That's the real sacred wound. And this October, it rises to the surface, not to shame you, but to liberate you. Let me share a story. A Scorpio man named Raphael was known for being magnetic, charming, and mysterious. He had lovers, he had admirers, but none of them lasted. When asked why he always pulled away after the third date, he laughed it off. People get boring, he'd say. But one night during a quiet dinner with someone different, the conversation shifted. This person didn't flatter him, they didn't chase him, they simply asked, "When was the first time you stopped trusting touch?" Raphael froze, and in that moment his soul remembered the time he cried as a child and was told, "Stop being dramatic." The time his vulnerability was thrown back in his face in an argument. The time he was used, then blamed for being too emotional. That night he didn't run. For the first time he let someone stay and saw that not everyone wants to hurt what's tender. Scorpio, I know your trust has been broken in unspeakable ways, but I also know this. The person arriving this month isn't here to judge you, they're here to understand you. They won't flinch when you tell them where it hurts. They'll honor it. They'll hold it. And most importantly, they won't try to fix it, they'll just stay. That's what your sacred wound has been waiting for. Not perfection, not answers, just presence. Life lesson from part 2. True intimacy begins when you stop hiding the places you've been hurt. The right person will not fear your darkness. They will sit with it and light a candle there. Part 3. The Galactic Healer. Why you heal others but not yourself. Scorpio people come to you when they've hit rock bottom. They call you when their life is in pieces. They spill secrets to you they've never told anyone else, even strangers. You've probably asked yourself, why do people open up to me like this? Here's why: your soul emits the frequency of someone who has already survived the fire. You've been burned, broken, betrayed, and yet you're still standing. That makes people feel safe in your presence, whether they realize it or not. You, Scorpio, are a galactic healer. Not because you went to school for it, not because you carry sage or crystals, but because your energy has touched death and chosen life again. But here's the part you don't talk about. You know how to heal everyone except yourself. You give the perfect advice. You intuit exactly what someone needs to hear. You know how to hold space for their rage, their sorrow, their guilt. But when you're the one breaking inside, you isolate, you disappear. You try to handle it alone. You believe that no one will hold you the way you hold others, so you don't even ask. Let me tell you a story. There was a Scorpio named Malik. Everyone in his life saw him as the wise one, the anchor, the unshakable rock. When his friends were in crisis, he was the first call. When his sister was going through depression, he sat with her for weeks. But no one knew that Malik was struggling with insomnia, panic attacks, and the silent pain of a childhood trauma he never dared to name. He felt it would be selfish to burden others with his truth. He believed his role was to hold, not to be held. One eye, his body collapsed from exhaustion. His spirit had been screaming for help in silence, and the very people he thought couldn't handle his pain showed up. They didn't fix him, they just stayed. And that was the beginning of his healing. Scorpio, listen carefully. Even healers need healing. Even protectors need protection. Even you are allowed to fall apart in someone else's arms. This October spirit is asking you to surrender the illusion that strength means solitude. Let someone witness your tears. Let someone listen without fixing. Let yourself receive what you so freely give. Your energy is sacred, but it is not infinite. You don't have to be the strong one every hour of every day. Life lesson from part 3. You are not weak for needing help. You are wise for knowing when to receive it. The healer who finally heals themselves becomes unstoppable. And Scorpio, you are long overdue. Part 4. The Forbidden Flame. Scorpio and sexual shame. Scorpio of all the signs. You are the one most misunderstood when it comes to sex. People call you intense, seductive, dangerous. They assume you're obsessed with control, with domination, yin, with raw desire. But what they don't understand, what almost no one sees, is that your relationship to sex is not about pleasure. It's about power. It's about truth. And most of all, it's about vulnerability. You see, Scorpio doesn't seek sex for thrill. You seek it for union, for transformation, for emotional death and rebirth inside the soul of another. But here's the tragedy. Somewhere along your path, someone taught you that your body was a weapon, not a temple, that your desire was shameful, that your need to connect physically made you too much, too intense, too broken. And so, you hid your cravings, you pretended not to care, or worse, you gave your body without giving your heart just to prove you could be in control. But every time you did, a part of you disappeared, and it left behind a question you've never stopped asking. Am I lovable, even when I want this much? Let me tell you the story of Camille, a Scorpio, who wore desire like armor. She dressed in black, spoke with confidence, made lovers melt in her presence. Everyone wanted her, but no one ever saw her. Because Camille carried a secret shame, a scar from a teenage experience where her innocence was taken, followed by silence. No one asked, no one noticed, no one told her that wanting to feel safe in her body wasn't too much to ask. So she turned her sexuality into control. If she was going to be desired, she would decide how, but deep down what she really longed for was to be held, gently, without needing to perform, without needing to prove her worth through skin. And one day she met someone who didn't want her body first. They wanted her breath, her laughter, her truth. For the first time, she undressed not just her clothes, but her shame. And in doing so, she reclaimed her fire. Scorpio, this October spirit is calling you to do the same. You are not here to be used. You are not here to be feared. You are here to rediscover the sacred in your sexuality. To remember that your pleasure is not a curse, it is a compass. It tells you where your power lives. Life lesson from part 4. Your desire is not something to hide, it is something to heal. When you stop apologizing for the depth of your longing, you finally make space for a love that honors all of you, not just the parts you've been taught to sanitize. Part 5. The jealous eye. Someone secretly watches you. Not everyone who leaves is gone. And not everyone who stays has shown their true face. This month, Scorpio, there is a presence circling your energy field. You may not see them, but you feel them. A glance across a room that lingers too long, a name that keeps showing up online, a dream that brings back someone you thought you buried years ago. You brush it off. You say it's nothing, but your soul knows better. Because Scorpio senses obsession before it becomes visible, this presence isn't casual. It's not a stranger on the street. It's someone who once touched your energy, but never truly let go. It might be an ex. It might be someone you shared a brief electric moment with, the kind that burns for years in silence. Or it might be someone who never had the courage to come forward but watches you from the shadows, wishing they had said more, done more, before someone else captured what they never had the nerve to claim. Let me tell you the story of Jonah, a Scorpio man who worked in silence. He had a co-worker, Elena, who always smiled too long when she passed his desk. She never flirted, She never crossed the line, but every time he looked up, she was already watching, and then just like that, she looked away. They never spoke beyond the surface. Years later, after Jonah had left the job and moved on, he received a message from Elena. 3 sentences, no punctuation, just this. I still remember the way you looked at the rain that day. You didn't know I was watching, but that was the moment I fell in love with you. Scorpio, you never know who is silently orbiting your soul. Not everyone expresses desire out loud. Some carry it like a sacred wound, unspoken, unhealed, unfinished. And sometimes that secret admiration turns into jealousy. Not malicious, but aching. They see you healing. They see you loving. They see someone else touching the parts of you they once dreamed of reaching. So they watch, not to curse you, but because they never stopped longing for what could have been. This October, that energy intensifies. You may receive a message, a confession, or you may just feel the pull of eyes that won't look away. The question is not, who is watching? The question is, do you still care? Because sometimes the person you once craved in silence no longer fits the person you've become. Life lesson from part 5. Just because someone desires you in silence doesn't mean they're meant to return. Growth means learning to bless what never became without reopening the door to what never should. Part 6. The Hermit and the Devil Scorpio's final test. There comes a moment in every Scorpio's journey where no one else can walk with you. Not a lover, not a friend, not even the soulmate who sees your soul so clearly. This moment is sacred. This moment is terrifying. This moment is now. Spirit is leading you to the threshold between 2 ancient forces, the Hermit and the Devil. The Hermit asks you to look inward, to be still, to stop chasing, proving, or controlling, to remove the masks, especially the ones you wear when you're alone. The Devil, on the other hand, whispers, why heal when you can escape? Why grow when you can distract? Why feel when you can numb? Scorpio, this is not a metaphor, this is the real test. The Devil isn't a person, it's the old pattern, the old wound, the old habit that says, stay small, stay silent, stay hidden. But the Hermit, he holds the lantern of your soul. He reminds you that isolation isn't punishment, it's preparation for something bigger, something divine, something real. Let me tell you about Clara, a Scorpio who had reached her breaking point. She had just ended a toxic relationship. Her business was collapsing, her health was suffering, and she hadn't heard from her family in months. Everyone told her to get back out there, to move on, to bounce back. But instead, Clara disappeared. Not to run, but to return to herself. She turned off her phone. She deleted the dating apps. She sat alone with her rage, her tears, her memories. She wrote letters she never sent. She screamed into pillows. She prayed to a sky that didn't answer until it did. And when she emerged months later, she wasn't the same. She didn't crave chaos anymore. She didn't fear silence. She didn't need someone else to make her feel worthy. She had faced her devil and chosen her soul instead. Scorpio, this October, you're being called into your own final test. You will be tempted to go backwards, to text the ex, to bury the pain, to trade depth for distraction. But this time you know better, because now you've seen the truth. Now you know that freedom doesn't come from avoiding the darkness. It comes from walking straight through it, lantern in hand, head held high. Life lesson from part 6. The final battle is always within. When you stop fearing your shadow, you become the light that darkness cannot touch. Conclusion, the truth, October unlocks for Scorpio. So now Scorpio, you've walked through the mirror of soul connection. You've reopened the wound that intimacy once infected. You've accepted that even healers must be healed. You've stared into the fire of your forbidden desires and seen that they were never wrong, only misjudged, only misunderstood. You've sensed the presence of someone who still watches you, but you've also felt your soul pulling toward a path no one else can walk. You stood between the Hermit and the Devil, and you chose truth over comfort, depth over distraction, light over illusion. And that, Scorpio, is why this month belongs to you. Not because it's easy, not because it's soft, but because it is sacred. This isn't a love reading. This isn't a forecast. This was your soul, breaking open just wide enough for rebirth. And now the only question that matters is this. Are you finally ready to be loved in the places you used to hide? Because Spirit is ready. And the union you crave isn't waiting at the finish line. It's waiting at the exact spot where you dropped your guard and whispered, I want more. So go back there, pick up your power, and walk forward this time without shame. Call to action. If this message spoke to your spirit, drop a comment below and tell me, what wound are you finally ready to let be seen? Or simply write, I'm done hiding. I read every comment because Scorpio deserves to be heard, not just understood. And if you haven't already subscribed to the Path to Buddha Wisdom so you don't miss the next chapter in your journey, this isn't just a channel, it's your mirror. And we'll be right here when you're ready to look again.